Hey Jackals! In today's video, we'll take a look how to make a unique dynamic animation inside DaVinci Resolve. Now let's get digital. Now if you watched my previous videos, you'll know that when I made this effect, the ending animation happened with every story and not just at the end. I managed to fix that, but the solution is not the best because it's not fully automatic. What do I mean by that? Well, as you can see here in the Inspector tab, I have here story copies, time offset, and I have some delay. And this delay is not set automatically. As you can see, I have here two expressions. This one updates correctly and this one doesn't. So this is what we'll have to use and I'll show you how. But what it does is basically it multiplies the story copies with the time offset. So if I set the story copies to 4, the ending animation will be at 5, but I have to set the delay to 20. Otherwise, this animation happens too fast, as you can see. So now if I set this to 20, the animation will happen when it has to, as you can see. And you'll also notice that this set X delay doesn't display correctly. So when you change the number of copies, you may not know which value you actually have to use. So that's why we'll use this expression. So now if I use 0 for the number of copies, this will display just one story. But again, I have to set the delay to 0. So now for the effect, I made it inside this fusion composition, and I suggest you go watch my previous videos on how I did that, because I'll just show you what you have to do to make the changes. So what I did is I disconnected this duplicate node from here because this was used as a mask, but if you have the mask connected, this will not work correctly. As you can see, it doesn't really animate correctly, and if I remove it, the animation is correct. Then you'll want to disconnect everything that's in between here, which I believe was a second duplicate node that was run using this node. So this duplicate node only has the number of copies that you set. So you can go from 0 to 4. You can specify more copies if you want, but in that case you'll also have to adjust the number of copies in the shadow, because by default we only have 5. So that is just something that you have to know, so you can adjust it. Then we have the merge. This will automatically move the final animation. So what I did is I made an expression. So make an expression. This will give you point 0.5 and 0.5 by default. Then I've added 0.032, which if you go into the duplicate node, this is what I've basically added. So this is the base offset, and then you multiply this offset, just the 0.032, with the number of copies of this duplicate node. And the Y value stays the same at 0.5. So this is how I fix the position so that the last story always displays where it has to display. And as for the delay, we use the TimeSpeed node. So use Control Space to open the select tools, TimeSpeed. Make it. This is how the node looks by default, and you'll set the delay speed manually. The delay speed is in plus values. Now ideally you would use an expression, so type in equals, we would have duplicate 1 dot copies. This gives us the number of copies, as you can see, but this automatically makes an issue. Now as you can see, this doesn't work, the node is red, and why that is, I have no idea. If you know how you could fix that, let us know. But if I use the same values and just remove the expression, the node actually works. Now this would be ideal because then we could just use multiply, duplicate 1 dot, and let's see what this option is. So time offset, and this gives us -10, so I'll just use minus in front to get the positive value. But again, as you can see, this doesn't work. We would somehow have to fix the issue of the TimeSpeed node not working before the delay that we set. But if you set the value manually, this works. Now let's say that you make a macro and you want to use this. How do you know what the value of the delay has to be? Well, how you can fix that is to right click on the node, go to edit controls, type in the name, maybe set delay to. This will be a number. You want to use this in the controls so that you have it listed under this tab. Have this animatable. This should be an integer. And you can use the range if you want to, -100 to 100. And we can also use the screw control, which will look like this. And as for the center, you can use 0 and the steps will be as 1. Then you hit OK. The control will be here. Now we'll simply use the expression. Now if you can't use an expression in this custom field, it means you uncheck the animatable and you'll have to do this again. Then we can simply pin this one, pin duplicate, and connect this one to copies, multiply, time offset, and just use minus in front so we get a plus value. So this node is now basically the same as this one. The only difference is the X value, which I have inside the text field. And as you can see, it's basically the same. But by using the variable, in this case the variable is X, this produces some issues, as you could see in the beginning. And it even has some issues now, because the value is not the same. As you can see, the value keeps jumping, even though it shouldn't. So then all you'll want to do is connect the TimeSpeed node here. I can disconnect this one. Then you would just make a macro and export it, and you would end up with something like this. Now in this case, I just set it so that I can change the number of copies and set the delay to what it actually needs to be. Otherwise, you would also have the ability to change the color, change the text to whatever you want, and this is just the final position that I have. Ideally also set it to be able to zoom, because I've used the zoom here, and adjust the position here. And that's it. If you found the video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel to see DaVinci Resolve and video editing content twice a week, and hit the bell notification icon so you know when my next video comes out. I'm Simon, and until next time, jackals, keep it digital.